Hello and welcome to Book World, the space where stories come alive and writers tell us not just what they wrote, but why they wrote it. I am your host, Adrea Torhee. Today's episode takes us across borders, emotions, and memory as we explore funerals and firecrackers and other stories, a powerful debut short story collection by Aisha Adesanya. This collection brings together 10 deeply moving stories that examine mental health, identity, love, loss, and the quiet struggles of everyday life. This is set between Nigeria and England. The book invites us into the lives of characters searching for healing, belonging, and meaning in a world shaped by trauma and hope. Aisha Adesanya is a Yoruba hijabi writer whose work has appeared in several respected literary platforms, including the Journal of African Youth Literature and Earth magazine. She has also been nominated for the Best of the Net and served as a judge for the 2024 J-Lit Awards. We are excited to have her with us today to talk about her journey, her stories, and the firecrackers that echo through her work. Welcome to Book World, Aisha.
Hello, Andrea. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me today.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for joining us. It was such a struggle to have you
Pleasure.
here. I want to know, where did you find the time to even write a book as someone working in the healthcare industry? You've been so
Yeah.
busy.
Honestly, I feel like that's a question I probably still ask myself because I think you could say I get really, really busy, but I don't know. It just happens. Honestly, it just happens.
So how were you able to come up with the book? Were you scheduling your time to write? Did you have to write after work? Or did you have a long holiday where
Yes.
you took the time to write?
Usually I was kind of writing two stories at the same time. That was because I gave myself like a target line. So I was okay, every day after work, because I wasn't really putting myself in the box of okay, like 1,000 words, because I feel like that was gonna stress me out. So after work, I had like my two drafts open side by side, and either I take a nap first or I just write as much as I can simultaneously together. And I don't know, I just made it work. Obviously, on days when I was not working, I had this little cafe close to where I stay. And I just became a regular there, just like going there, writing. But it was a bit of a hassle, but I would say it was an interesting one because it kind of surprised me how I was able to manage my professional work and also writing after like a hectic day at work.
Yeah. Do you think this is the reason why you chose to write the short story format for your debut? Or, would you have been able to write the long story formats with your busy schedule? Or do you have another reason for even using the short story formats?
I think having like doing a short story format was also to like teach myself because I didn't want to like do like a novel style and I would get overwhelmed by it. So I thought, okay, if I'm able to like just shorten it and I'm able to like use my imagination to create like different worlds, different characters, then the interest would be able to it would interest me more than just going a whole long format. Especially because I was always scared of okay, what if social media makes it really scary because it's what if you forget you've not written this? But I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not ready for that hassle. So I'm just going to start with a short story since I'm really busy as well. That way I'm like, okay, when I finish one short story, I feel like, okay, yes, you've done well, on to the next. So yeah, I think that was just what I was motivated to do at the time, I would say.
Okay, I see. Now, funerals and firecrackers. That's a very striking title. What's your reason for
Mhm.
using that title?
So obviously the collection is based on trauma and just a lot of things people go through that we do not really talk about. So obviously based on my experience in mental health, you always have this eyes. Like for somebody with depression now, they always have times when they're really on a high, maybe really excited, really just really there. And then all of a sudden they just go through this really drastic low and they just like go. So obviously the funeral just signifies that part of us that takes on so much mentally, and when we're not able to give anymore, it just kind of ends for some people. And the firecracker is just like, it's just the burst of energy, the burst of emotions, just everything that happens all at once, especially when you're dealing with your mental health by yourself, especially coming from like an African household where talking about your mental health is not something that is very common. So you're there just behind this mask, trying to go about your everyday. And then all of a sudden, sometimes you're just not able to really go with your day anymore. You just can't hide it anymore. So that kind of just like signified both stages in mental health struggles.
Okay, now you've mentioned mental health a number of times, and I believe this
Yeah.
collection explores deeply on it. Why do you think it's important for you to center these conversations?
So I lost my mom at a very early age. I was 13 years old and I lost her to breast cancer. Obviously I feel like to this day that is something that deeply affected me. It still affects me. It's something that I've not really been able to wrap my head around, and it's been almost 9 years now. So obviously at that young age, it was a lot of emotions that I couldn't understand. I didn't know how to manage. It was just too much. And obviously I've always been into mental health because see my mom at the lowest level of her life. I was there with her when she was in the hospital, and I was just always like just curious about everything she was going through and how she was deteriorating so much mentally. So obviously after she passed, I decided that, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna do something interesting, maybe something that can make me understand the emotions I'm feeling. And then I applied for an internship in National Hospital in Abuja at the psychiatric ward, and it was a whole new world. Mental health was not something I was familiar with, but I was there seeing patients upon patients. I was hearing psychosis, schizophrenia, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, these are things we actually go through in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And it was a whole new world. And I was like, these are things that as soon as I lost my mom, should have been given the resources like, Aisha, you've gone through this. Okay, you need to see a therapist. How are you doing? What's going on? And all those aids were not given to me, but they were there. It's just not very open to the outsiders. That it probably takes like really maybe rich people or really educated people to seek that help. And I feel like that was not really fair. I feel like it's something that should just be vast. You should be able to go to every corner and be able to talk about my mental health, was going on with me. So yeah, basically.
Wow, I deeply sympathize with you on the loss of your mother. And
Thank
I
you.
know that
Thank you.
mental health is a topic that is being discussed widely now, and more people
Mm-hmm.
are becoming aware of their own mental states and being able to take care of themselves mentally when needed.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yes,
in this book, were
exactly.
there any other things that, surprised you as they emerged and as you were writing the stories?
Yeah, I think one that was another main element in the collection was migration. Obviously, from coming to Nigeria to the UK, it was a whole different world. I was thrown into a reality that was very different from what I watched on Disney Channel growing up.
Culture shock.
I was thrown I was thrown into adulthood. It was a mixture of the cold, the
Mm.
very brutal cold, the subtle racism here or there. As a Muslim, the Islamophobia, the curiosity, it was just a lot of things. And it made me realize, because I work with a lot of Nigerians as well in the healthcare sectors. And obviously, from talking, you see how drained a lot of Nigerians are, and a lot of immigrants generally, from working so tirelessly, doing so many shifts, just wanting to, get the worth of them having to relocate to the UK. And I was just like, this is something that we also need to talk about, because you realize how much a lot of immigrants that come here and are always watching the news, seeing the different immigration laws coming, them sitting at the edge of the chair of like, what is about to affect me and my family. And it really impacts our mental health. And again, it's not something we're comfortable talking about. It's
Yeah.
just Eden. So I was like, immigration, my own personal like experience, that also really influenced my collection. So it just kind of came together, immigration and mental health. Really heavy things that we do not talk about that much. Because I feel like immigrating to the UK, Canada is made in a very fine way,
Yeah.
greener pasture, making money in dollars. It's also hectic, but people don't like to talk about that. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me do it in my own little way. So yeah.
Wow. I can see that these 10 stories were very personal to you, or are very personal to you. Is
Yeah.
there anyone that
Yes.
you feel very close to, and that you, other than your mother's story and mental health and migration, out of the other 8 stories, are there any other ones that you feel were very personal to you, that you felt a huge need to share?
Um, to be honest, I feel like throughout the collection, it had the same theme. It had the same theme of mental health, trauma, like that was the whole thing. I remember when I was writing the old collection and my sister read it, and she had to be like, Aisha, are you okay? Do you need therapy? So I feel like the old collection as a whole had the same story to tell, just in different lives and in different worlds, basically. So honestly, I would say it was every story, because I feel like a piece of me and a piece of my personal experience were in each of those stories, obviously just fictionalized.
Yeah.
And I would say one every story that happened to somebody that I know was a story about obviously this picture perfect girl, like every parent's dream, have it together, does well in school, have the perfect life, there for everybody, until the last breath did not say anything. And this was something I witnessed
Wow.
with someone close to me. So I would say that one really was heavy. Well, because when I was writing that particular story, it was heavy, but I was like, this happens so, so much till somebody's last breath. They would not say, I'm not okay. And then the parents will start to wonder, what happened? Where did we go wrong? But it's just not spoken about enough. So I would say the whole collection had really heavy connections with my personal experiences and my personal life as well.
Great. Do you think that writing these collection, these stories, came to you as a form of healing? And do you think writing in general, excuse me, is also a way to heal? And for the readers who are going to be reading your book, do you think the book would also bring to them some sort of healing?
Yeah. Um I think when I was writing this, it was more of like a journal for me. Obviously, I still feel like healing is still something I'm trying to find. I'm still trying to find my inner peace. I'm still trying to fully actually grieve the losses that I've had. But obviously writing this just also gave me like an opportunity to just let off some steam and just some things that I was feeling so deeply. And obviously, it comes off as a really dark collection, but it's a collection that has to be read, because I feel like we always kind of beautify things sometimes, but some things are just ugly and we just have to talk about it. Because from not talking about it, or from trying to make it seem like not a big deal. These things get overlooked and people die from it. People lose themselves. So I feel like, and I hope that when somebody reads this collection and it feels heavy, they also feel seen, like, wow, okay, somebody actually understands. Like, somebody sees the ugly truth of life and is comfortable just dishing it out there. So it was a medium for me to let off some steam. And I'm really hoping that it does the same for somebody to just feel seen and just know that, okay, this is something that we acknowledge. I acknowledge it. And I hope that, it just makes people feel more comfortable talking about it, especially my Nigerian people. Obviously, from being a Nigerian, especially my Nigerian people, it's something we need to just talk about more. And I just hope that just putting all of this gore into this collection helps people feel more comfortable doing so.
No, thank you for sharing that. Let's move away from the book for a bit. Let's talk about your writing journey. You started drawing at a very young age and then you
Yep.
moved into writing. How did that creative shift happen?
Okay, so I was when I initially I mean no when I was in secondary school, I went to boarding school. I used to draw a lot from like my textbooks and everything. And I was actually pretty good at it, to be fair. After I lost my mom, I think I was doing that for like maybe about like a year or so. But I think as my mental health deteriorated more, I lost interest in anything. I just wanted to go to school and come back home and rot away, feeling like, oh my God, where is my mom? So that was something that I lost for a really long time. And I was staying with my sister and her husband at the time. And her husband happened to be a writer, Mr. Ibrahim. And I remember one day he got me a like a diary, and it was just like, Aisha, why don't you just like try and write your thoughts? Like, just write. And for like a week, I probably just threw the book away. I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. But he kept on encouraging me, and I started actually writing. And from seeing him write and him encouraging me to write, I was like, okay, this is something I'm actually really good at. And then obviously I went to an online university as well. And with online uni, you're doing a lot of writing.
Mm.
And I was just like, okay, this is actually something I really enjoy. And I just found out that my creative side did not actually die. It just needed some kind of like push, some motivation. And I just started writing. I'm not a very frequent writer. I don't really, it doesn't really come to me that easily. But when it does come to me, it flows really well. So I think having like my brother-in-law writing, him taking care of me growing up, because I've been living with him since I was 13 years old, and him just motivating me and giving me that medium. I was like, okay, well, I think I'm a writer then. And it's just clicked, it stayed, and it's really just helped me to like say the things that I'm not able to say out loud and just put it down in paper. So yeah, that's how that happened.
That's an impressive journey right there. Now,
Yeah.
you were a judge for the J Lit Awards
Yeah.
2024. How did
Yeah.
working as a judge help you in your storytelling skills?
Oh, it was really interesting. I didn't realize that when you're a writer and you read very differently,
Yeah.
because each line you're reading, your brain is editing and editing and editing. You don't even realize it. So it was really interesting reading from like putting myself into other people's shoe, that like the writer's POV was really interesting. Seeing different styles that I could also like learn to adapt, and seeing things that, oh, okay, this can actually be better, and making a mental note to like when I'm writing also like not make that same mistake or error. It was just really interesting, and it helped me a lot to learn different writing styles, because I feel like sometimes you can get so boxed up in what you're comfortable with, and you might not really like try different other styles of writing. So being a judge and reading so many different submissions was interested, and it gave me like a wider view of different writers' approach and style. So yeah, it was very enjoyable.
Oh, that's awesome. And what conversations do you hope readers will have? Let's go back to the book now. What do you hope will be the conversations that would come up when readers come across your book?
I think the first expression I'm hoping people would say is that, oh my God, this needs to be talked about more. Because it actually does. And it might feel like I'm exaggerating, but I went through a whole point in my life when I was drowning and there was no resources whatsoever except from family. And my family were also grieving. So I want people to read this and be like, okay, yeah, we need to start talking about this, and just make it a norm within their own inner circle. And even sometimes just go to your parents and be like, Mom, are you okay? Dad, are you okay? Because they go through so much as well
Yeah.
that is not acknowledged. They go through so much. And I saw it with my dad when he lost his wife, obviously. So I just wanted somebody to just feel like, okay, you know what? We need to talk about this. Like, this is actually really interesting. I want them to feel the heaviness of the emotions that I put into each of the collection and just be like, yeah, okay. If she could write it and express this, then we just need to talk about it more. And I'm just hoping that one day it actually just becomes a norm in every Nigerian family, in every African family, and just worldwide, basically.
Now, what advice would you give young writers such as yourself, especially those who are going through or who have marginalized identities and they have stories
Mm-hmm.
to tell, they want to share their story, but they don't know how to go about it. They don't know whether or not to even start. What advice would you give to them?
Honestly, as someone who takes herself as learning, because I feel like I still have so much, so much to learn. But I always say that if I could do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes subconsciously we kind of put ourselves in this box of whereby we don't see ourselves as much. At least I experience that sometimes. And when Mr. Ibrahim was like, why can't you do it? Like, it was my number. It was like, you can do it. It's not just right. It's not. And you know how Nigerians make things look so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And I just started writing and writing, and I was like, okay, I'm actually doing this. And from production to my book launch, I was like, this is something that I could have never imagined myself doing. And if I could do it, I honestly anybody can. And I feel like it might seem hard. Some people feel scared to talk about these hard things because of how they'll be seen or they'll be judged. But I always say, in the grand scheme of things, does that really matter?
Yeah.
If I'm like always really caring about what people say, in the grand scheme of things, what do they really affect in my life? You know, obviously my close family, yes, definitely, but you have to just put things out there because there is one person or a few people you would actually connect with and even motivate as well. So yeah, I feel like just do it. I know it's easier said than done, but just make it a mindful thing that okay, one day I actually just want to start, even if it's just one page, just even a line is a start. It grows, but you just have to be mindful about it and manifest that energy to want to actually like do something you've never done before.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Just one last question
Thank you.
in one sentence. What is next for you? Should we expect another book? Should we expect a novel? Should we expect more story collections?
I think because I have a lot of friends just motivating me. So I think maybe a novella first.
Okay.
Something longer than short stories collection, but not too long, so I don't get overwhelmed. So like a novella first, and definitely more short stories, collect submissions here and there, and just gone from there basically. But I definitely do want to have more courses and more knowledge in creative writing before like doing anything massive again.
Awesome. Aisha, thank you so much for sharing your time,
Thank
your
you.
journey, and the hearts behind funerals and firecrackers and other short stories. Your work reminds us that
Thank you for
stories
having me.
don't have to shout to be powerful. Sometimes they whisper truths we did not even know we needed to hear. To our listeners, if you're
Honestly.
interested in stories that explore identity, mental health, resilience, and the fragile beauty of human connection, this is a book you do not want to miss. You've been watching Book World, where every book opens a new conversation. I am Adrea Torhee, signing out. Keep reading, keep listening, and keep telling your stories. Have a happy new year.